there isn't really we shouldn't really be disappointed with whatever that takes place in our lives. It's it's really easy for me to say something depending on where I'm at in a sense of disappointment, in a sense of feeling like if I did better, maybe I wouldn't have been in this position, which is a human way of thinking, and it's very reasonable because we believe that actions have consequences and they always have consequences. But we forget that we serve a God who turns the bad into the good. Like for me, for example, I have my friends who goes to a really nice university which I wanted to go to, but I got to a point when I started realizing if I did better in high school, maybe I could have applied for a scholarship that would give me a full ride to that university. Then I could have been there with them at that university. It made me think of disappointment and regret onto myself. And just thinking about that, like actually right now as I started talking about it, I just feel a like where I'm at right now and looking back into what I was thinking about, I just see it as it was a plan all along. It was intended to be this way all along. Now, why am I saying that right now? So, I'm at a community college right now, and right now I feel like it's in my best interest. It was meant for me to be here and to just live this life with God on my side, of course. I feel like all the time that I was working or just thinking about why am I here, just being disappointed in myself for being here, I wasn't really thinking on a different side or on the flip side. I didn't have a different perspective other than I am a disgrace. I am a failure for ending up in community college, which isn't that bad at all, but it's people make it seem as if it's the worst, but for me it really seems like it was just a plan that God had for my life. And I'm saying that because in community colleges, I'm not very attached to the college. I am only taking my classes and I'm doing my due diligence as a student and I am done. Whereas in college, they try to, I mean, in university, they try to, there's so many things that you could like be into, so many clubs that you could put yourself into, or so many events that takes place that are very tempting for you to go. And that result in you falling into that path. And when you go into that path, you forget, you start to struggle with your priorities, or you start to struggle with trying to balance things in general. So for me being here, I am doing the things which are pleasing to the Lord, which is amazing, and I don't have uh anything being advertised to me about my school to participate in or to go into. So I don't have those temptations to go in there. Maybe it's this for this season that this is happening or this was taking place for. Maybe in the next season now I know I have learned enough how to handle things, what I'm into and what I have to prioritize. And then the coming season, maybe when I transfer into like a university or something, now I know what is important and what I ought to spend most of my time on, which is very good. And I feel like that's just what this thing was all along. And it's incredible to think about it like that. So regrets aren't really regrets. We shouldn't really be regretting anything. This may sound like something that's impossible to do in a moment, because you would be thinking about, oh, I am regretting this because this simply just happened. But the thing is, Romans 8:28, which goes along the lines of bad things works for the good of those. God makes the bad things work for the good of those who believe in him. I think. I think it goes like that, but I hope you get the idea. So in the moment you may be thinking, oh man, I should be disappointed that I didn't do that or I didn't make it there. But taking the time to just acknowledge that God turns the bad into the good for those who believe in him or those who delight in him brings comfort and joy knowing that God is not done with your life yet and you don't know what's coming for you. Maybe you are put down in that position which seems really bad so that you can have a way into a good position or another position that God wants you to be in that you would find yourself glad and joy in. Honestly, this reminds me of David, the famous story of David and Saul. David was anointed king. He was told, hey, you're going to be the next king of Israel. And yeah, and he didn't directly become king. He had to wait. He had to fight all of those battles or run away from Saul and just serve Saul until his time came up. And just remembering the verse that Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. There isn't really, we shouldn't really be disappointed with whatever that takes place in our lives because of that verse I just read, because of Romans 8:28. We shouldn't really be disappointed or discouraged for things that take place in the moment. But here is the natural tendency for us, I would assume for all of us, when we're faced with something that's bad or a disappointment in life, it's really easy for us to just dwell in it and to be sad and just be like that. But we serve a good God, a gracious God, and he says that Romans 8:28. So it's like, yeah, we serve a good God, but we're human beings. So just keeping that verse in mind, honestly, is gonna do a lot for us, and it's just gonna remind us of how good God is, and we're just gonna keep pursuing Him continuously, and that will bring joy forth in our lives, which is amazing. And yeah, thank you for sticking around. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it to others. And yeah,